want to talk about being a real leader, okay? Being a real leader. I write this down, it's not because you are bogus leaders. I know all of you are people of influence. There's an area of ministry that you're serving in, whether in a cell or ministry. So all of you are really leaders. But not all are really leading by being real. Okay, I think what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we are failing to function as what a real leader should do. It's not that we are hypocrites, but it's just that sometimes we fail to assess the reality of our cell groups or our ministry or even church, in my case. Because the first duty of a leader, according to Maxwell, who in turn quoted Max Dupree, the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The first duty of a leader is to define reality, okay, which I'm going to expand a little bit more. I mean, nowadays we hear about fake news, all right? Can we, for example, may have assess your cell or your ministry in a situation where it is not as real as it should be. So we can be exposed to fake news in the world, but in the church, for example, we may not be able to assess a situation as really as it should be, as really as it is. A classic case was in the Second World War, during the Nuremberg trials, of the right-hand man of Adolf Hitler was a guy called Hermann Goering. And he knew that inside that trial, he would not be acquitted, he'd probably be hanged, all right, or shot. But during his trial, he would wear his dark glasses, and he actually said these things. He said, when things get dull in a courtroom or unpleasant, I just close my eyes behind my dark glasses while the prosecution lawyers will list out all the crimes that he has done. He said, I practically live in the past. I think of all the pleasant things that I used to have. I think of the large parties I used to attend in Carine Hall. I think of my popularity among the German people, which gives me great pleasure and satisfaction. He was thinking of his past while the prosecution lawyer was condemning him. He said, I'm sure I will go down in history as a man who did a lot for the German people. He said this trial is just a political trial. It's not a criminal trial, as far as I'm concerned. He said even if there are criminal things done by the Nazi party or by the SS or even the army, as what this prosecution lawyer is charging me, I certainly had nothing to do with them. You see, he's in a state of denial. He says it's true that I'm second in command after Hitler, but he says, yeah, maybe I closed my eyes to the real meaning of what was going on in Germany, but I always did it for the benefit of the German people. So that is this guy not really assessing the reality of what he has done or what his situation is. He was hiding behind the world of his dark glasses, going back to the past, and denying that he ever committed crime. He was only politically charged just because he lost the war. I mean, today we see people who deny things, right, who are in a state of denial. Alcoholics will say, look, it's okay, I can control myself in the amount of alcohol I drink. Gambling, it's okay, I just do it for fun. But really, they are addicted. And yet, they are in the state of denial. So let's have a definition of what denial means. Okay, so denial means that it is something that is unconscious, it's not deliberate. It's a self-defense mechanism so that you allay your fears, your anxieties. You know, people who have eating disorder, they want to control themselves by not eating. And yet, they're starving their body, right? They're damaging their body. It's because they have certain fears that they want to be in control. And so they control it by having this disorder. But denial can happen in the whole spectrum of things. Basically, it's something that we're not even conscious of, but it's a defense mechanism used to allay anxiety by what? By denying the existence of conflicts or troublesome impulses, unpleasant situation, of cell members, events, a setback, actions, or even illness that we can deny, and that is what is not assessing reality. You see, Jesus himself in the gospel, he's very real. He asked that people, before they commit themselves to be a follower of Jesus, he said, it's just like a king about to enter into battle with another king. He says, you better sit down and think through and count your military strength and might. And if you think that you cannot win this battle, you better sue for terms of peace. So there is a realism that Jesus even talked about. And I'm saying this because I believe that even in the church, if you're not careful, because of the makeup of all of us, we can be in certain states of denial. And why is assessing a reality is that important? There was a survey done by a company on over 1,000 board members of companies, okay? It's called leadershipiq.com. So they interviewed 1,087 board members from all types of organizations, 286 organizations over a 4-year period, and asked these board members who have fired their chief executive officer, and they found out that 1/4 of these CEOs were fired. Why? Because they were denying reality. The profits were plummeting, and yet the CEO said, it's fine, just a blip. And so he got fired. So 1/4, about 23% of the CEOs that were fired because they denied reality. They're not prepared to face up to the facts of the performance or the poor performance based on objective data. They still believe that, no, it's fine, the company is doing fine, so they're fired because the board members do not believe in it. And we have to ask ourselves that, do we, as Christian leaders, do we actually go into some denial because we're not prepared to face up to the reality of the state of our ministry, the cells, even ourselves or the church? Well, let's start with a very basic, that how do you get things done? Normally you have the vision, right? That in this case, the senior pastor says a vision. I hope you know the vision of the church, or at least a mission, which is a what? EEC is a cell apostolic, cell-based church. Come on. Committed to obey the Great Commandment and to fulfill the Great Commission by motivating, equipping, and empowering me, M-E, as in noodles, motivating, equipping, and empowering every member to be an effective minister of Jesus Christ. So you all should memorize that by heart. That should be your mantra, right? No, not really. I mean, it's an EEC vision or mission statement. Followed by a vision, of course, to raise up soldiers, okay, to fulfill that mission. Followed by strategy, which is how, okay? So vision is where you want to get to, the preferred future. Strategy is how to go there. So we say, yeah, we should have cell groups. We appoint cell leaders. We train them. And they got members, and then they're going to reach out. They're going to reach out to the oikos, and soon people will get saved. And then they'll come in, we'll train them, and soon they will grow. And within 18 months, they should multiply. It should work, right? Yeah? They've got the vision, a cell-based church. You've got the strategy. We have different groups, different cell groups. But why is it that it does not work? You see, everybody can dream of making money by saying, I sell out a burger store in Victoria. Okay, if the amount of burgers I sell is that much, this is a cost, I will definitely make money. Simple. But very often, we focus a lot on the vision, the strategy, but we fail to look at the implementation. The real people, the real machines that do the work. And you realize that you have planned for your burger shop or store in Victoria, but because you hired some people that have not been trained how to bake burgers, so the first few weeks they make the burgers, some were burnt, some were raw, and one or two have food poisoning. TripAdvisor got this review, okay, and the planning officer came and shut down your store. That's it. You got the vision, easy to make money, sell burgers, Victoria. Got the strategy, buy burgers from Iceland, right, nearby, just in time supply, don't have to stock burgers. It's not so expensive, but yet it can fail. Why? Because the implementation, getting the wrong people, didn't train them enough, didn't monitor the quality, can fail. And very often, organizations fail. It's not because they have no vision or strategy, but because the implementation was bad. Okay. So my question, therefore, implementers are key. You are the guys that implement the vision and the strategy in the cell groups. Okay, I can talk about the vision. Lena and the zone leaders can talk about training, CCLTT, SPT, all the strategies. But when it comes to implementation, you are the guys. You are the people that really cook the burgers and sell. If you are not treating the customers well, the burger store will fail. If you don't cook properly, we will not be able to make money. So my challenge is, part of why we fail in our implementation is because we may have poor or even non-existent reality checks. Because we may be in a partial state of denial for some leaders, okay? I mean, considering the survey that 1/4 of these are bright people, CEOs, okay? 1/4 of them actually were fired. In other words, they were digging their heels in to say, I deny that my company is failing. I refuse to see that my company is failing. Do you understand the sort of tension that we are refusing to face reality? So one of the first duty of a leader in any organization is to define reality. What is the state of your ministry? What is the state of your cell? What is the real true state of the cell or the ministry? For me, I have to say, what is the real state of Emmanuel Church? Is it dying? Is it growing? Is it just floating, having a status quo? And I must be brutal with that honesty. But I need to get my facts. Because I receive good stories from people, right? People say, oh, God's going to do mighty things. It's going to be revival. It's going to fill up. There'll be people queuing in the streets. Wow, I can think of that. And I say, woo, thank you, Lord, That may be my reality. But in reality, I look on Sunday, it's not, nobody is queuing in the street. Is it a faith thing? So this is one to cover. Is it a lack of faith on my part? That's why in church we don't normally ask this question, because it seems to work against our faith. But we're going to cover that in a moment. But it is true that how realistic are we? How do we define what is really happening in our ministry? This is the question, because that is the number one duty of a leader. Why? Because, why is that so important? Why is denial so harmful? Why is the fact that if you do not get your reality right, you're going to hurt the organization or the church? Why? Because you have no reference point to see where you are in terms of meeting your goals. In other words, if you do not assess your situation properly, you're lost. I remember there was a team building event run by EC staff some years ago. We went to Epping Forest, and I don't know what we were doing, maybe a long lunch or whatever, but we arrived there about 4 or 5, and by the time we were inside the forest, it was getting dark. And I remember we were lost in Epping Forest, and it was quite frightening because the sun was setting, and you have no idea where you are, or at least where I park our cars, right? So if you do not have a reference point, there's no way that we can lead this team out of Epping Forest, apart from calling 999, which would be quite embarrassing, okay? But of course, I have plan B, right? Because I work in a phone company, I have GPS that they don't have. So with the GPS, and I stored where my car was parked, I was able to take the team out of Epping Forest. Because I have a reference point, my GPS, I know exactly where we were lost in the forest. How far are we from the parked car? Which direction we should go? So if you do not know the reality of your business, what is it doing? If you do not know the reality of your ministry, where you're at, because you deny wanting to know the facts, you will not achieve your goals. And that's why sometimes we say we plan for cells. It's quite dangerous because we just say we plan, 10-week plan, 10-week plan, 10-week plan. It is about talking about the vision and the strategy. This is how we do it. It's only in recent years that I think Lina and I, we say, look, we should review every 10 weeks plan to see the previous 10 weeks, how you performed. Why were they not met? So in some sense, there's a bit of reality checking. But I don't think we go deep enough to really understand what exactly is a problem with the cell, or what are the challenges you face, or what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses. Honestly, and this is the point. Let me drill down, okay? Why is it that people deny to have a real reality check? Give me some examples. Why is it that people are not totally honest? Because if I ask you and say, look, can you tell me honestly what do you think of Emmanuel Church? Some of you may hesitate, right? And not tell me the truth. If your cell leader, would you ask, even as a cell leader, come on guys, core team, tell me honestly, what are we good at? Why are we not achieving our goals? Do you think your core team members, first, do you even ask that question? Secondly, even if you ask that question, will your core team members be able to tell you objectively what they think? And thirdly, will you be able to take that answer? That's reality, right? But we dare not go into those reality. And we think that we're okay. Are you following me? So why do you think that, give me some reasons why denial exists? Or we're not, sorry? Sorry, say again. They don't want to be sound negative. Why? Label negative, right, correct. Okay? People don't like to be called negative, labeled negative. People don't like to be a whistleblower. They don't want to rock the boat. They want to sound negative. Why? Eh? Okay, you feel uncomfortable, right? Because you start to say, no, this church not so good. Or this cell, not so friendly. Sorry? You want to offend. Okay. Why is it that we should not offend people? Or why is it offending people when I'm telling the truth? Hey? We want to keep everybody sweet and happy. Okay. Yeah. Good, yeah? Truth is hurting, I know, but I'm asking the reasons why. Because it's hurting, okay, because it hurts. So we don't want to hurt people, yes? Keep everybody happy and sweet. Don't rock the boat. If you're a whistleblower, you'll be rejected, yes? It's subjective. Okay. Yeah, okay. Correct. I mean, I received that somebody saying my preaching was not good at all. Very boring. Some say it's very good. So I, of course, listen to one who said mine is very good. Yours is just subjective. He is objective. And of course, I don't like to see you next time. So I shall just look at this side. Okay, so any other reasons? Yes.
Afraid of personal failure. That if somebody complains about you, you're sort of being told that you're a failure.
Okay, you don't want to confront failures or seeming failures, right?
No, that if one reason why you might be in denial is because if people tell you the truth, you're afraid that you're going to feel that actually you're a failure.
Mm-hmm. I cannot accept that emotional pain.
Can't accept it.
It's an emotional pain, right?
Yeah.
That I'm a failure. I can't take it, and that's very common. Yeah. Patient. Comfortable place to be. Don't rock the boat, okay? Yeah. Status quo is the best. That's how church die, okay? Too comfortable.
Reputation.
What?
Reputation.
Reputation of who? You?
Of
or?
yourself, maybe, right? So if you denying your failures helps you prolong your reputation of being a good person, or
So you're talking about the one who receives the criticism. Okay, yeah, good. So I think most of us begin to understand that, denial does exist, really, even in the church, especially in the church. Whereas in the secular, because you can't hide for too long. Every quarter they look at the profits, and the profits is dwindling. You are sacked, you're sacked, you're sacked. Your job is at risk. So better be honest, otherwise you lose your job, right? And you start to blame each other as well. It's not us, it's that department, right? So you can't help but being nasty. But in the church, it's okay. As long as we get the money rolling in, everybody's happy and sweet, and we go on. But actually the church is dying, not careful. So do you agree that as leaders, your responsibility and my responsibility is to define reality? But we need to know the reasons why, okay? So I just pick up some of the reasons that you say. I think first of all, we think that a leader Christians must be loving, right? So if you're loving, by definition, you shouldn't hurt people. You shouldn't make the pastor to cry. That is a great sin. You must love your pastors. You must stroke his back and say, oh, you preach very well. You're very good. You work very hard. You lay down your life for the sheep. Because you want to be positive. Christians are encouraging, loving, positive. Nothing wrong with that, but the Bible says you must speak the truth in love. Ephesians 4:15, okay, so I'm going to quickly run over there. Oops. Okay, 4:13, let's read together. This is about the fivefold gifts, okay? So it says, the fivefolds are given. Until we all, let's read together, until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. This is what we want, so that we may no longer be children, tossed to and fro by the waves, and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness in deceitful schemes. Yes, that's what we want. But rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head of Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. So what is the secret to grow in every way? Is to speak the truth in love. How do you make the body grow so that it builds itself up, so that each part is working properly? Is to speak the truth in love. It did not say you should not hurt, right? It says speak the truth in love. Do you know that if you speak the truth, you're going to hurt someone? Agree or not? It's inevitable. But because we're not perfect, so each part is, by definition, not working properly to start with, right? We will start off as children. This is by inference from the scripture. We are not all matured. So how to grow? Let's be real, okay? We all start like that. To grow, just being loving is not going to be enough. Just being encouraging is not going to be enough. You need to speak the truth in love. Okay, so this is the biblical command. But it works against all those things that we talk about. Okay, I want to be nice. I cannot speak the truth in love. Now, in past years, I have put in an open, what I call the open culture in EEC. In other words, people should be open to speak, to share, rather than to hide under titles or hierarchies. So I believe to some extent it has worked. But I believe the next season that God wants us is to have reality assessments over our lives, over our cell groups, over our ministries, over our church. In other words, let's not hide, let's not pretend, or let's try not to be nice in that sense. I mean, we can be nice, we should be loving, but do not try to be loving that you do not speak the truth in love. In other words, that is not love if there's no truth in it. Love without truth is not love, okay? So we must believe that we have to speak the truth in love. Another reason is that we must not judge one another. So who am I to judge the pastor, right, in that sense, or my cell leader? But we are supposed to judge rightly. I cannot judge, you're right, I don't judge your motive and your heart because I can't see your heart, I can't see your motive, but I can judge your actions, I can judge your words. Okay, if you swear at me, I say, why do you swear at me? That's a real statement, okay, question. If I see you stealing my money, I have to say, why do you steal my money? I think that's a wrong action, okay? But I cannot judge your heart. So we think we mustn't judge one another. We mustn't make a judgment, as Lorna said, it may be very sort of subjective. So the way to bring it out is really to say, I might be wrong, but maybe you should pray about what I feel, okay, or what I think it is. So let the leader think about it, pray about it, and that's what we should do. But you should speak the truth in love. It's not there to put people down, but to do in love. And I think the biggest challenge is the man pleasers. We all want to please people so that we look good, we are accepted, right? We are loved. We don't want to be the guy who's negative, as Joshua, you mentioned. But in one sense, we are coward because we dare not stick out for the truth and what is right in the sight of God. We don't want to be the bearers of bad news. We don't want to become a victim of shoot the messenger. Caesar has this habit that if somebody comes and say bad news, we have lost, he say chop his head off. See? So we don't want to do that. But I think most important is that we cannot face the emotional pain of failure, of rejection, and not looking good. That's the reason why we don't want to say the truth in love. That's a problem, okay? Both for the person who speaks, we don't want to feel that I don't want to be the person who hurt this pastor or this cell leader of mine. And for the pastor or the cell leader, he or she may not want to listen to it because he just refused to believe, because it's too painful to think that I'm a failure. Okay, and all this happens because we don't have that security that we are all growing together, we're all in it together. We are not judged by our performance. In that sense, we are a child of God, not because of performance. So it's very important why we have to establish reality. And then finally, we have this big problem. God is with us, so everything should be fine. Doesn't matter. Even the church shrink to 10 people. Emmanuel, God with us, we should be okay. In fact, God is weeding the bad people out so that with the 10 real soldiers left, God's going to do a miracle with 10 people. Now left with me. So God is the only one now who's going to bring Emmanuel Church to victory, because I'm the only one who's faithful to God in the end. It has taken so many years to prove that I'm the only one. You see, you can go into that sort of deception. So what we need to do is that, first of all, we have to realize that knowing the true situation now is more important than what it should be. Very often we always have hope to say, yeah, it should get better, it should get better. But you'll never get better until you know where you are now. So it's more important to really be honest and say, what's your cell group, what is its state now? What are the real problems that you face? Be honest, right? Who's not pulling their weight together? Or I'm not equipped enough. Okay, have to tell Lena, have to tell Pastor Peter, we need help. And even then, I may have to define my reality and say, I can't help you. Well, at least we're honest, at least we walk through that process. What are the options? Okay? And once you got the options, in other words, we identify the real causes of why we're not meeting the goals, which can be very unpleasant because you may say, is this person not pulling the weight? He let the ball drop, right? He did not agree. So it's very unpleasant because, people are exposed. But I think we need to do that, speak the truth in love. Otherwise, you are dying. And it's going to be more painful the more you become the ostrich and refuse to confront the issues. Yes? The cell will get smaller, more and more demoralized, and soon you'll die. So you better at least fix it. Secondly, is to be hurt now is better than to be hurt much more later. We all agree it's very painful, right? If you define reality now. But it's better to let the person know now and hurt the person. It's rather that I listen to the truth, pray about it, and realize that it's true, and be hurt. My ego is hurt, my significance is hurt, everything is hurt. But realize that, thank God, at least somebody tells me now, 10 years down the line, by then I don't need to be told because the church would have died. That's even more hurtful. I wish somebody has told me 10 years before. Okay, so the hurt now is better than to see more hurt much later. This is to do about the person who tells the story, to tell the news that, look, things are not going as well. So it's very hurting, but at least do it now, because the longer you leave it like cancer, the worse it becomes. So maybe that is an incentive for us to speak the truth in love, because it's a very big barrier to go across to say, I want to be the nice guy, I want to be a people pleaser, I don't want to be the whistleblower, I don't want to be the harbinger of bad news. But you need to do that. And to understand that to change now is to be found out later to be a failure. At least there's a chance to change now, then things get worse and worse until you can't even, it's too late to change. The whole business is closed. Okay, so let these hard realities push us to define reality as our task as leaders and be honest about it. And also tell yourself that disagreement among yourselves doesn't mean lack of unity. Okay? Because we're not perfect, we always have disagreement. We have iron sharpens iron, right? You often quote it. So don't think that just because people disagree that they're not supporting the vision of your cell. It's just trying to be, because the person cares enough to tell you the truth in your face, and you're hurt. But don't think that the whole thing is dying because of this. And so what we need to do is to create a culture which reality flourishes. That's what we should do. So first of all, we have to overcome the fear of man, being a man pleaser. I'm one of the default man pleasers. I want to be a nice guy, okay? But I have to overcome the fear of man by doing the right thing in the sight of God. Very often when you deal with conflicts, we don't know what to do. And each one, some of you may say, I resolve conflicts because I'm driven by how people react. If they react badly, I'll change my position. Right? Oh, this person threatening to leave the church, I better change my position. That's what I sometimes used to do years ago. And others will say, no, this is not the right principle. You should sack the person. No, you sack the person who leaves the church from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big dilemma. But what we should always be driven, our deciding factor should be always doing what is right in the sight of God. Then you can't be wrong. Right? If all of us focus to say, yeah, the cell, the ministry is falling, the church is failing. What is right? What is right in the sight of God? We must do it. Don't care how you feel, don't care how I feel, don't care how we feel, although we consider it, but the overriding determining factor is what is right before the sight of God we must do. That's it, okay? So that is a reality culture. Otherwise there'll be too much confusion. Who are you trying to please? In the end, you please nobody. You try to please person A, B, God, myself. You can't please all of them at the same time. You can only please God, and that's it. Secondly, I think we need to be accountable to a trusted team by sharing things honestly and objectively in love, and then we don't spin. We don't give a spin about it. Okay. We may want to encourage to say, yes, these are all your positive points, Pastor Peter, or so-and-so cell leader, but I feel that maybe this area we need help, and we need to be accountable, be open to be taught. And then when we do the reality checks, let's include the invisible realities. Now, this is a bit I mentioned about, what about the faith in God? If you were to say, look, the church is getting small, but someone say, no, don't worry, God is with us. It's fine. So if you say, no, I don't believe it, then say, no, Pastor Peter, you have no faith. You have very little faith. But I'm telling, so this is like a dilemma. Do you trust in God, even though the reality shows everything is going downhill? Or are you kidding yourself? Or is it something that God is actually weeding people off? How do you know? I want to bring you to the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. Okay? If, in effect, it's true, there's not enough food to feed the 5,000. That's a reality. Because the only food was this boy that was offered was 5 loaves and 2 fishes. That's a reality. But yet, the 5,000 was fed. Why? Because Jesus was there. God is the ultimate reality. Jesus said, go and buy them where can we buy food to feed them? I want to feed them. That's what Jesus wants. So the fact that Jesus says, I want to feed them, that is the reality. That overrides the reality that there's only not enough bread. There's not enough bread. Because Jesus, the reality, is going to move to a different reality of 5,000 being fed with 12 basketfuls being left over. So we need, therefore, to include the invisible reality only when Jesus is there, only when God's will is to be done there. Then, yes, that is a new reality. But until then, until Jesus says feed them, you're right, I won't have enough food to feed 5,000. It's true. The same thing when Jesus told the disciples to say, let's go to the other side of the Galilee. And then they went to the boat, and Jesus was asleep, remember? And then there was this storm, and they were so frightened, they woke up Jesus and said, Jesus, didn't you care that we're going to perish? Jesus said, you of little faith. Why did Jesus tell them off? It's a reality that the storm is going to swarm them and sink the boat from their human perspective. But there was an invisible reality that Jesus said earlier, and that is, we will go over to the other side. When Jesus said we will go over to the other side, it doesn't matter whether there's storm or not. We will go to the other side. So we need to, therefore, match the reality with what God is saying. Because without faith, it's also impossible to please God. So every reality is not just based on looking at the numbers of your cell groups and so on, which are important realities, but what is God saying? And very often we don't include those realities in our equation. What about other invisible realities, such as faith? Where was our faith in this venture in our cell ministry? Where is the Holy Spirit? Where is the power of God? Where are the weapons of righteousness, of prayer, fasting, of holy living, of patience, love? And I can show you that it is found here. Okay, 2 Corinthians 6:7 talks about a ministry that will not be an obstacle. Here's what Paul says. How? He says by purity. Have you ever asked, because we're not pure, therefore things are not moving? Knowledge. You don't have the knowledge of God. You don't have the patience, the kindness, the Holy Spirit, genuine love. There was no truthful speech. There was no power of God. There's no weapons of righteousness for the right hand and the left hand. Because if these are missing, therefore the reality when you assess why the cell group is not moving, it's not just my people are not willing to go out to knock on doors, but what about all these things that you have not put in? Because if these factors are in, it may change the direction of the cell, because you have not considered, do we pray? Do we ask God? Do we see God doing what He's doing? And then in Hebrews 11, without faith, it's impossible to please God. Where was the faith in the cell group in the last 10 weeks? Where is the power of God? Where is the holy living? Where is the truthful speech? We didn't even evaluate truthfully. Where's the patience? Where's the kindness? Where's the Holy Spirit? So these questions we are asked, not just all the technicalities. We can talk about the church having, great stewards, warm lighting, great music, great PA, but we may not ask about the purity of our church, the knowledge, the patience. Where can we see kindness in the church? The Holy Spirit. Do we see genuine love? Do we see truthful speech? Do we see the power of God in the church? Do we see people praying? The weapons of righteousness? Do we see people fasting? That's a question. So we need to define reality by including those invisible factors, not just the visible factors as well. And we must not learn to please man, but to please God by speaking the truth in love. Okay? And I think that is telling us areas in which we need to become more vulnerable, to build up courage, listen more attentively, to dig, ask and dig, while doing discernment. Thank you. This is my good wife, in case you don't know who she is. I see kindness in this church, and I see love and knowledge. Actions speak louder than words, true. I want to end with this point. This is a major Rami that I met a couple of months ago. How many of you know about the Ugandan Entebbe raid? I used to show the cartoon here some years ago in 1976 when Israel sent 2 Hercules transport planes to Uganda to rescue their hostages. There was hostages, Jews were kept hostage in Air France that was hijacked by some terrorists, and Idi Amin kept them in this airport. The Jews have only 1 week to plan that operation, and those planes have to fly over just under 100 feet in order not to be detected by the radar of Uganda, and they have to risk landing the Hercules in the middle of the night with no landing lights at the airport. And he was on the first plane. He was the operations officer. Okay? So I asked him, he's not a Christian, but he started to believe that there is God, for that rate to even pull off. So he says, I asked him what makes a good soldier. He gave me 4 in priority. So some of you know, all right? So please don't answer the question. But I want you to guess, okay? What are the 4 qualities this major, he's one of the best army in the world, is the Israeli army, okay? He's retired. I asked him what makes a good soldier. He gave me 4 qualities, okay? Those, I have told some of you, but so don't cheat, okay? But those who have not heard, what do you think? Come on, give me some guess. Courage. Yes. That's number 4. It's not the first one. But it's good. Okay, he hit something there. And more, who? What? Strategy. Okay, not in the list. Following. Obedience. Yes. Number 3. What about the top 2? Come on. Integrity. What does that mean? What? Vision. Mission. Well, obedience is, right? You obey, just do it. Yeah. So, no, not in that list. Surrender. No, you don't surrender. You have to win. There's obedience. Surrender. Okay, come on. You're getting there. What? Training. It's too late. You're already there. You mean train, to be a trained soldier. Okay, fine. But it's not on that list. I say the 4 factors that make really a good soldier. He actually stopped for a while and think. Nobody asked before. Perseverance. Okay, no, not there. Listening, no. If you obey, you listen. So what? Loyalty, no. Discipline, no. What? Vigilant, no. What? Teamwork, no. Eh? Sacrifice, no. There's courage, I suppose, yeah. Top 2, come on. What? Competent, no. No, not teamwork. Eh? What? Willing to die, that's courage, yeah. Give up? No, don't want to give up. Come on, keep guessing. Good planning, no. I tell you what, it starts with letter H. What? H. Honesty, right. That's number 1. Yeah, I asked you to explain, you can't. Honest. I was quite surprised. What's the second one? Come on. Start with C. It's not courage, no, that's number 4. Character, no. Charisma, no, forget about charisma. You get shot. You think you can charm the enemy. No. What? C. What? Convicted, no. Commitment, no. No, not character. No, not careful. Compassion, no, don't not compassion, to kill them. So, yes. Confident, no. Competent, no. No. Give up? What? Conviction, no. Not commitment. A second, according to this major, okay, it's not in the Bible, okay, according to this major. So the first one is honesty. The second one is clarity. Interesting, that. It never occurred to me that why should honesty be number 1? You thought courage, right? Submission. But honesty. And I begin to understand when I think about it that if you're not honest, I think the soldier at war also face this denial, right? On the one hand, you may want to be the hero. So you tell the commanding officer, the field commander on the phone call, and say, everything is fine. We will wipe out the enemy. But the reality is that you're going to be killed in a minute, right? Or they are so cowardly that they say, no, we need air support. We are desperate in the situation. No, not really. They're not desperate. There's another unit that's more desperate than them to need air support. So if you're not honest, you will mess up the whole thing. As a field commander, I will not be able to send you the right priorities at the right time because you're not telling me the truth. So how can I plan my war game if you guys are giving me different information, wrong information, dishonest information? So for him, a good soldier is honest. If you say, oh, we're all frightened, we're going to be killed, Commander, please save us, we are losing morale, at least I know this unit is going to fail. So I may want to save it or sacrifice it, but at least you tell me the truth. But to do that, you need to give the defined reality. And secondly, clarity. If you mumbo jumbo, not clear what you're talking about, I can send a plane and bomb the wrong coordinates, may kill in friendly fire. So clarity is important. So for clarity, you must know the details. You must be clear in giving a real appraisal. So I really learned a lot from this, that you must be honest. We must learn to be honest. Not that we want to lie, but we need to speak the truth in love. And you need to be clear in what you're trying to say. Don't just say, oh, the cell is not doing well. Not doing well in what, right? In which area? Oh, maybe the people are not welcome. Why not welcome? Yeah, because the host give a lemon face whenever the people come. Is that true? Let's ask other people. Is it just the person's, facial appearance? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or, yeah, the grow was badly led. Nobody prepared. They just walk in, walk out. Even the wrong chapter. Nobody informed when the cell is going to be canceled or not. It's bad. So yes, is that true? So you need to dig more, okay? So I just want to end by saying that there is an ultimate reality check, and that will be the day of judgment. We cannot escape on that day when God will judge us, and you cannot give excuses. You cannot hide. We cannot be nice, because Jesus will tell us exactly what he thinks of our work will be tested by fire. So whatever we really built, gold, silver, precious stones, will be tested. So I would rather we do it well, because what we're doing now affects your legacy, my legacy, of what you're going to leave behind after you move on. Right now, our time is being used to build up the legacy of when we move on. Also, in one sense, define our rewards as well. I mean, we all will be saved, thank God for Jesus, but our rewards will be different depending on our works. So I'd rather get it checked now than to hide and to kid ourselves by not defining reality. So I hope that going forwards that we can be very honest when it comes to our review of our cell, our ministry, of the church. Just speak the truth in love. If something is really bugging you, then speak the truth in love. But choose the environment, do it with respect, do it with gentleness, raise it as a question to say, I might be wrong, but I felt it is like this. What do other people think? So you don't make a judgment and say, yeah, it's definitely this problem. Okay, so I hope that we learn something about being a real leader. Is to be able, number one, what's our first duty? Is to define reality. Define reality. Ask God for revelation. What is the real situation? What are the real problems? What are the real causes? What are the solutions? Okay? And you don't stop there. You need then the team to be willing to commit to this action. Having defined the solutions or the possible solutions, you ask yourself, now team, now that we have analyzed the problems, the options, the way forward, are you committed to do it? And if the team say no, then forget it. That's your reality. But if they say yes, we'll do it, then just make sure that it's done. Okay? So we end here. So let's all stand the next few minutes, and there's something waiting for us. I'm sorry I took a bit longer, but that's a reality. Okay? I can't finish this talk